Welcome back to a nice but windy day out here on the dock. As you probably guessed from the title as well as the thumbnail, this optic right here is what we are going over. So this is the relatively new. It's been out for less than a year now. Primary Arms GLx 1X Prism. So what is it? Well, the GLx gives you some indicators. So Primary Arms has tiers of optic. Of course, they have SLX, which is their silver line, then their GLX, which is their gold line, then their PLX, which is their platinum line. So this is only the second GLx prism scope that they have released. This one, of course, also has the ACSS reticle, and basically it comes from a long lineage of ACSS 1X prism scopes. And for those who don't know, the reason these scopes exist is me. So I nagged Primary Arms for years to make a 1X prism scope. Back then, there weren't any companies doing it. I think actually Vortex had just started, but I was making the point that there's a lot of people with astigmatism and a lot of people that don't want to rely on battery life, maybe an EMP type of prepper, and the 1X prisms would sell. Again, they fought me on this for years and they finally gave in. And they gave us this guy right here. This was the original one. This one here has spent a month in the bottom of this lake right here. If you guys watched the torture test we did of that one, that's why the rust is there. But that was the first one. The big complaint, of course, was that the reticle was too small. That's what people said. Even though the actual math behind the ACSS reticle is the same in all of these, people wanted it to be a little bit bigger to the eye as they viewed the optic. So that led us to this guy right here. This was the Gen 2. And obviously became much smaller, much more compact. However, it didn't have all the features that this one has. This one also, the Gen 2, and of course they all work with all the different mounts. So these take mini ACOG mounts and they give you a bunch of different cantilever setups here that you can change either how far forward or back the optic is, as well as how high it is. So this one just is on the low mount. It can be mounted just as high, just because I know people will ask. But this one here wasn't daylight bright enough for most people. So that was one of the things they worked on with the GLx here. The GLx is going to be daylight bright. So I have two of these. I have a red one, and then we have the green one here. The red one is the one that you're probably seeing in shooting footage throughout this video so far. And the green one here, I just picked up to use on another project. So we're going to use the green one because it looks clean and nice to go over it. But let's come in close, look at it, go over all the different features, and talk about some of the things that are good about it, and maybe some of the things that are drawbacks about it. Whenever I do a 1X Prism video, I get the same questions every time, so I'm going to try to address them here before we actually delve into the details on the actual optic itself. Number one, can you use it with night vision? Yes, you can. This one here was really difficult to use with night vision. This one was sort of okay. This one is a little bit better than sort of okay. I say that to say it gets dim enough, the reticle does. So that way it's absolutely usable with night vision. That said, it is nowhere near as good as like a really high quality red dot like an Aimpoint T2 or some of the higher end SIGs are. Those ones are excellent. Of course, the EOTech is the king of passive night vision, but it definitely is doable. You can do it, it works. It's just not quite as good and not quite as clear as some of the competitive options, if that makes sense. Additionally, people always ask if you can use it with a magnifier. I believe, in actually this video, I have plenty of footage of me doing that, and I've also done it with the GLx here. You can use it with a magnifier. The key there is going to be this little guy here. So I guess let's just move these out of the way for you. So the key when using it with a magnifier is your diopter. So the diopter is this piece back here that you move in and out, left and right, and that way you focus the reticle to your eye so that it's clear with your eye. And another thing you want to do on a 1X prism specifically, that doesn't really apply to other prisms, but on a 1X prism, you also want to adjust it so that way you're getting a true 1X, because you can actually make it look sort of like a 1.1x magnification. You can also make it look sort of like a 0.9x magnification. So you want that sweet spot where it will be clean and crisp, and it will also be a true 1X. But for magnification, getting back to what I was saying there, you want to adjust your diopter on the actual optic and the diopter or the focus ring on your magnifier as well. Set them so that way they work together. With that, when you do that, they will be a little bit off. So your reticle won't be quite as clear when you flip the magnifier to the side, but it's still perfectly usable. Just kind of know that going into it. And then additionally, one kind of pro tip, if you will, from doing this over the years is that if you are going to use a magnifier with this, I recommend turning the reticle down to a relatively low amount of illumination. That makes it just look a little bit crisper in that magnifier. Since we were just talking about the reticle, let's talk about it a little bit in depth. So there's a ton of different uses for this reticle. You should see a few different 0 points as well as points of impact that we're rolling in here on the screen with different calibers and different barrel lengths. Additionally, this can be used for shotguns as well using the outer ring. You guys should see that as well being rolled in here. And like all ACSS reticles, maybe not all, but 99% of ACSS reticles, it also has the auto ranging feature as well, which is something that you just simply don't get with other, optics out there, particularly Prism Optics. This allows you to put the person's feet, as you see it here on your screen, and rough estimate how far away they are. That is based on using military doctrine of the average height of a person. They didn't just make that up out of thin air. So that's how you range with it. And then additionally, those hash marks down at the bottom that do not illuminate also give you a holdover for again, it's going to depend on the cartridge, the barrel length, all of those sorts of things, but it also gives you different holdover points to use as well, which is an advantage of this over a red dot. Additionally, the chevron on there gives you an infinitely small aiming point. So again, some people don't like the chevron. I personally love the chevron, but if you don't like it, that's fine. You can post that down below in the comment section. I am completely fine with it. Moving on to the actual optic itself. You guys can see these are your adjustment buttons here in terms of your illumination. Now, just right up front with etched optics like this, I typically don't use the illumination. However, I did throughout this review just because I know you guys really wanted to me to talk about it and discuss the quote-unquote red dot brightness of it. And both the green and the red are red dot bright in my opinion. You should see a photo that we've rolled in or are rolling in now. It is as bright as it can possibly be today, and you can very easily distinguish the brightness of the reticle. But even without the reticle on, you still see it because it is etched. So that is something that people like about Prism Optics, is that you obviously can use a battery here in this situation and get that illumination, but you don't need to. So WRAL, is that what Not Fancy calls it? Whatever it may be, or SHTF. If you don't have a battery or can't find a battery, it's still perfectly usable. And over here, we have our windage and elevation adjustments. They are half MOA, which is definitely an improvement. A lot of the earlier ones out there were 1 MOA from a bunch of different brands. PA and one other that I'm aware of now are doing 1X prisms with half MOA adjustments. So that is definitely an improvement over the earlier. And then right there on top, you can see we do have our battery cap. And of course, your battery life on this one is going to be longer than previously because they have that shake awake, or auto live, I believe is what they actually call it, feature on there. So your battery length on the mid setting is going to be 9,000 hours. However, in real life, because it has the shake wake feature, it's going to be way longer than that. Both of mine have been left on max brightness since I've got them in. And like I said, I've had them for just under a year now, and they have had 0 issues in terms of battery life. They are still on, they're still going bright and strong. So battery is definitely an improvement on this one over some of the earlier versions. One thing to point out here while we're looking at it up front is that it is threaded, so that way it can take a kill flash. So should you find yourself over in Ukraine and the Russians are hunting you, you can add a kill flash on there and have a little bit less glint coming off the front of your optic. Well, the wind is only picking up, it seems, but I think this background definitely beats a studio, so we're going to push on. So a few things that we didn't talk about so far with this optic is going to be just full disclosure. They did send it out to me for the review. However, as I stated, I am partially responsible for it existing, so there is that. These optics have been very durable. People drop test these all the time. Like I said, this one lived in the bottom of the lake here for a month. I did a bunch of drop tests on it as well. You can see it's all scratched up. These have been drop tested on multiple YouTube channels. They are durable. They are rugged. That's one of the benefits of a Prism optic. And the mounts here, let's talk about the mounts. In my experience with the GLx 2X Prism, if you guys watched that video, I actually had one of these break on me. And it really wasn't like a torch test or anything like that. I think that's just a feature of the mounts themselves, having a cantilever on there. And whenever you have something that's cantilevered, it's a little bit more likely to break. It just sort of is physics, right? So if you put these on there, it may not be as quote unquote bomb proof. That said, are you ever going to run into an issue? Probably not, because you're not torch testing gear and you don't run a YouTube channel. But just know that about the mounts, that it's just math. It's mechanical strength, right? So there's nothing wrong with these. It's just the nature of the beast, if you will. But one thing that's cool about them, as well as the optics themselves, is that they do have helicoils in there. So very strong in terms of mounting, so they made them as strong as they could be while still having that cantilever feature on there. Price point on these is always going to be a little bit flexible, of course, because the market's always changing. But right now, these are a little bit over $300, generally speaking. If you guys follow me on all my social media, you will see that I regularly post them for less than that when they go on sale, so definitely do that. I highly recommend it, versus this one here, which is the SLX version that's still out, still made as of this video. This one here is coming in a little bit over $250. So there is a price difference for sure. In terms of clarity, guys, I can't tell a difference. Many people whose videos I've seen or just watching different reviews of people who have posted on my posts on social media and stuff like that, they say that they think the glass is better on this one. Honestly, I can't tell. They both look very good to me. However, keep in mind in terms of like clarity of an optic, a Prism Optic, generally speaking, especially a 1X, is not going to be quite as like popping, if you will, in terms of clarity as like an EOTech would be. It's just, again, the nature of the beast, but it's still very clear, very usable. If you're not looking for color, if you will, you won't see it. I can pretty much tell you that. But who is this for? Well, number one, without question, somebody who has an astigmatism and doesn't have the ability to correct it and doesn't like using red dots because they have the little dot blur on there. If that is you, this optic is for you. Additionally, if there's a lot of people who don't want to have to rely on a battery, don't want to have to rely on solar, if that is you, this is for you. If you just want something that's really durable, really rugged, but is generally speaking, in terms of compared to like red dots, is going to be sort of like a mid-tier price, this is definitely for you as well. One con versus a red dot, which I guess we could do a whole video on red dot versus 1X Prism, but one con on it is that it is going to be a little bit heavier. This one in this configuration right here, I think is 8.5 ounces, and it's going to be a little bit varied depending on which mounts you actually put on there, but generally speaking, between 8 and 9 ounces. So it's still really lightweight, but of course there's some red dots out there that are like 2 ounces. So if that is something that you care about, just know that going forward. But really at this point, guys, I think we've said everything we can about the optic. It works quite well. I definitely recommend it if it is something that fits your needs, if that makes sense. And we're going to end the video there. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, you can post those down below as always. You can also post them over on my various social media sites. Like I said, when these things go on sale, it goes up on my social media first. So you can pick them up before they sell out, because these GLX optics tend to sell out, at least as of when we're recording this anyway. So definitely follow me on all my socials, particularly non-meta, where I'm not censored as much. Additionally, if you guys like this video, the information we present here, and you're not subscribed, you can fix that by hitting the subscribe button both on YouTube and on Rumble. And then additionally, if you have done that, you've hit the notification bell and all those things, and you're still not seeing 2 to 4 videos a week here on the channel, you are being censored by an algorithm. Easy way to get around that is to sign up for the email at the website here on your screen. This will get you put on 2 lists. Of course, you can opt out whenever you want, if you want to, but you probably won't. Most people don't. It'll get you put on 2 lists. One of them is a monthly video that goes out once a month, and it has all the videos since the previous month's email. So that way there's no big tech giant censoring your eyes from my content. Additionally, it'll get you put on the daily deals email. That goes out pretty much every day, as the name indicates, and it has typically 8 of the best deals that we find around the internet, whether it be optics, ammo, whatever the case may be, accessories, guns themselves. It'll be in the email. If the item is in the email on a given day, it's the cheapest I know of anywhere for that item. So that way, because I've already done the price comparisons, it saves you guys some money and hopefully saves you some time as well. And we also have an SMS list, so don't forget about that. If you guys are interested in that, you can sign up for it at the website here on your screen. It goes out at most once a day, and it will either have like a really screaming deal in there, or it'll have the latest video that we just put out, so that way, once again, there's no algorithm preventing you from seeing my content. It'll also get you signed up for a monthly Q&A video as well, and the only way to get the link to that Q&A video is to be on the SMS list. So if you want to do that and ask me questions without a million other people in there, that is the place to do it. So that's all I got for you. Thank you all for watching. I truly appreciate it, and I hope to see you in the next video.